So what led you to Austin in the first place?
100% Oleg Kechko. So Google him. 1996 Olympian from Belarus. Trained in the Soviet Union until it broke, and then officially competed for Belarus in 96. Long story short, I met him at a seminar in Chicago, and we just kind of kept in touch over the years and became good friends. And then he kind of like talked me into moving down there. And I went to visit a couple times, and I was kind of in a stage in my life where I could do it. I was just like looking to mix things up, and I was kind of, for career purposes too, I was interested to see how far I could take weightlifting if I was training with an Olympian day in and day out. Not only to see how far I could take it, but just how much I could learn. And so I lived with him. I trained with him twice a day, not every day, but twice a day, 3 times a week, once a day the other days, Saturday off. I started coaching with him, and, so learned a lot. So that's what led me there. And I kind of just went to try it, kind of see what's going on. And we even talked before I moved. He said, if it doesn't work out, we shake hands. We're still friends. All good. And one thing led to another, and I got an opportunity to open Raww Barbell. And that's kind of what's kept me. And then my girlfriend, Maddie, she's doing really well at her salon, one of the top salons in Austin. So it's just kind of like made it harder to leave, even though we talk about it a lot. But that's kind of what kept us there for 6 years so far.
So what kind of progress did you make training with him?
With Oleg?
Yeah.
I made really good progress with my snatch, and I would say my split jerk. My clean was always pretty good. I would say, I struggled with snatch, a little history. Like, I had shoulder surgery from baseball, and mobility in that position was always kind of a tough thing for me. And some of the special exercises that he had me do a lot, which I hated, really helped. Just something like close grip snatch, or you could call it clean grip, but some people can't do all the way to their clean grip, so maybe somewhere in between the snatch and the clean, so closer than your snatch. So you're hitting lower, your grip overhead is high, closer, so it requires more mobility. So he would make me do that at least once or twice a week. And I think for me, for the snatch, it was just straight up a mobility problem. I could pull the living shit out of, I was cleaning 400 plus pounds, but struggling to snatch, 130. And then with him, I snatched 140 handful of times. And so that was the biggest improvement. And then with the split jerk, once again, this is years ago. And even when I first got into weightlifting, there's a lot of kind of weird techniques out there for split jerk. And that kind of bothered my shoulder too. But with him, the back knee or the back leg being tighter, not straight, but tighter, was probably the best thing that helped me. Because these people that kind of think you're supposed to push under or drop under on the jerk or purposely bend your back knee, it doesn't work well. And I can't tell you how many times the jerk flew up, but then I would split and receive it, and it would just push me down because my back knee was bent. And I can't stabilize that kind of weight with a basically lunged back knee. So when I tightened up my back leg, my jerk shot increased a lot. And then even further, he took me to Belarus, and I met Leonid Taranenko. If you don't know him, he clean and jerk 266, and until last year, nobody. Well, there's a guy named Kurlovich. Those of you that really know history, he did 266. But got called on a press out. But Taranenko's officially the only one that made it in a competition. And he told me to do more incline bench. And for a long time, I didn't do bench press one time because my mobility was so bad in the snatch that I was trying to kind of loosen up my shoulders. So I stopped benching completely. So that helped my trick a lot too.
What else? Any like other big takeaways when you were in Belarus with those guys?
Yeah, like so once again, Taranenko was kind of my main kind of interest because, like, I mean, he's a legend of the sport, and to do that kind of weight, clean and jerk, and like for nobody to touch it for so long, and still technically nobody's done it in competition, even Lasha, even though he did 270 in training. You know, I was just like very interested in that, and I was hoping to meet Andrea Ramnow, but the national team was out of town when I was there. But the other thing I really picked up, which is like nothing new, but like anything, sometimes you just need that reassurance. He's like, he literally said, eating was harder than training. That he had to be like a machine with the eating and just eat, eat, eat. I mean, and I'm just, you know, and to hear from somebody like that in person, I started eating, and my list went up.
You look like you've been eating.
I've been eating, but yeah, it's like so stupid. But like some people, they want to, like myself included, for years.
Are you still eating?
Yeah. But yeah, like anything, you have good days and bad days when you're working a lot and you're like, shit, I didn't prepare, I don't have enough time, or yeah, and I try not to put like as much pressure on myself. I'm not training for like a big competition, or my lifts aren't, you know, I'm not like training hard. You know, that's where you don't have to like stress about it. But like if you're legit trying to lift big weights, you have to eat. It's that simple. I mean, I always use the car analogy. You're trying to have a high-performance car, race car, Formula One, and you don't put the right oil, you don't put the right tires, you don't put the right engine, like, you're done. Like, it's not going to go. Or it'll go, but it'll crap out. You know, it's not going to perform to the level that you want. So it's like, everyone talks about it. Not a lot of people actually do it. And the successful people in even, you know, CrossFit and weightlifting and high-level sports, I mean, you have to prioritize nutrition. Not saying you have to eat perfect and count your macros or whatever, but you just have to fuel your body for what you're trying to do. And if there's no fuel, what the hell do you expect, you know?
Makes sense. So when you were there, like what got you there? Because I know, so when Will went to China, it was like as a group, kind of, I don't know, like a... Yeah. But you went like just...
Yeah,
you and Oleg?
I'm VIP.
Okay.
I'm Russian Mafia. No, Irish Russian Mafia. No, I've just been really close with Oleg, and I think he looks at me as like one of his top students, you know, that actually, as you guys know, as a coach, like it's really hard to find somebody that's like crazy, buys into what you tell them and like sticks with it. So you know, that's part of it, and we're very close. Anyways, we're similar. You know, he's like brother from another mother, and same sense of humor and that kind of stuff. So we're just cool with each other. So I think he would always tell, you know, his buddies back home about me and this and that, and just he's been asking me you gotta come to Belarus, and you know, it's not an easy trip, and it costs some money. So like, there's just kind of like a timing thing. And then I finally got to a point where, you know, my business was okay-ish, where I could, you know, step away and have somebody cover for me. I had a little extra cash laying around. So I went for like 11 days, just me and him. And he took me to his sports school. I saw everything. So
it was like his history of weightlifting almost. He was giving you a tour.
Yeah. And I think too, like, you know, for him, he's proud of his stuff too, you know, like when you know, even for me, like people in Austin, you know, I'm always talking about Chicago. I'm always talking about where I'm from. And it's kind of like that pride, like you want people to see where you come from too. So like, I think because we came close, not only did he kind of want to maybe show me off to his friends, but also like he wanted me to like see where he came from. And he actually even said it just came to me. He's like, now do you like after I win, he's like, now do you understand weightlifting? I can't reproduce that in, Austin. It's so hard to convey what it really takes. And now that you came and saw my sports school and you saw these kids just like China, these kids that are, I saw a kid that was he was 16 and I literally walked into Oleg's old sports school. I would butcher the name, but it starts with an M. He was sent to the sports school when he was 12, away from his family. It was 40 miles, maybe even further. And literally when we walk in, there's a kid doing clean from the blocks, 175 double with straps on, which that's flexibility and confidence and whatever. And he was like a 80. I mean, I had the video on my phone, but he was skinny kid. I don't want to say, maybe 81, 89 kilos body weight, doing 175 clean double from the blocks with straps. And then you just see and then this kid over here, and then girls, doing this other girl did 125 jerk from the rack, low body weight. And it's funny too, some of the kids had black eyes. And I'm like, what the hell's happening to this kid? He's like, they're fighting. I'm like, yeah, I guess actually if you were living with all these kids and training and, eating good food, your testosterone's through the roof and,
Dude, that was China
easier
too.
To get in fights. And
these kids are all jacked and amped up. And then as soon as they get done, they wrestle and run. You're like,
yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, and they're roommates and somebody pisses you off and you're at that age, they fight. And, so the point is, Oleg was do you see now why I can't, not that he can't, but I can't, it's hard to convey this to people that are already 25 years old working a full-time job. Why can't I lift more? Why am I this? Why am I that? It's you don't get it.
It's different.
I could sit here tell you till I'm blue in the face. You got to start younger. You got to do this. You got to dedicate your life and this and that. Until you go see it, it's very hard to get it. And I still think I got it because I did play sports my whole life too. But I got its point,
Yeah, but that's what's cool about the sports school. Because playing baseball in high school, you see kids from different schools. There's 3 or 4 kids on each team that were going to go play in college, play professionally. But now imagine if you took all those kids, grouped them together, made them practice together, made them develop together. It just kind of pushes people to the top and creates this. We kind of talked about that on the
breathe. Yeah, back. Exactly. The kid that you got in a fight with that gave you the black eye, you're in the same weight class. Tell me you don't want to beat his ass. If you can't beat his ass in the face, try to beat his ass in the weight room.
On the golf course.
On the golf room. You can find me in the parking lot. So it's cool, but as a coach, I get it. And I said, even for me, there were a lot of things that even with Oleg telling me many times, I still had to learn the hard way, So for all those people.
Culture and environment takes care of a lot of the, even just missing weights, If you're around a bunch of people that aren't missing weights and looking tight and precise, and you're over here throwing 40 kilos behind your head and drop,
you're
sloppy. Yeah, it just puts you on your A game consistently. And if you can't make 40 kilos, you better figure it out real quick.
Yeah, and then just the mentality, not saying, I'm a proud American, so I'm not going to say Americans are weak, but you got also that Soviet Union, hey, my knee hurts. Oh, well, you have another knee. You have 2. Use the other one. That kind of stuff. Where I had some tough coaches growing up, and I had 2 older brothers, and my parents are kind of tough, tough love types. But as far as the sporting sense, as tough as I was, like it made me tougher because like, yeah, like it's like no excuses. You can make excuses all day. Hey, my shoulder hurts. And what are you going to do about it? Rub more cream on it. You know, like he had this, the first time he introduced me to this like heat cream. I mean, one of the brands is like NicoFlex, you know. Check the link below for if you'd like to purchase it with my 40% discount. No, it's called NicoFlex. It's hard to get, but you can find it. And it's like icy hot without the icy. It's just hot. And I remember my first competition with Oleg coaching me. I didn't even ask. I didn't say I was hurting. He rubbed it on my shoulders, on my knees, and it was in Texas, not in the air conditioning, in the summer. And like my shoulders were on fire, red. It was like embarrassing. And I was sweating like a pig. I like couldn't stop sweating, which like it was almost like distracting. And my knees are just bright red. My shoulders are bright red.
Like a cartoon where they run outside and dive in the horse trough.
Pretty much. And then on top of it, before I go out to do my first lift, he smacks me in the ears. And the sound goes silent. And then I got a ringing in my ears. And I'm just like, I'm so hot right now and I can't hear.
And I got tinnitus.
I guess I got to make the snatch. No, but like, it's funny because that's the other thing too. Like when you really trust your coach, like he could smack you in the ears and make you deaf and you don't even question it. I don't think it was like till 5 more competitions. I'm like, dude, why do you smack my ears?
I thought you were going to say till you could hear again.
And he said something like, because I can. So I was like I'm like, I guess I get it. Like you're nervous. You can like hear the crowd. You can hear the cameras shuddering. You know,
not anymore.
Especially in nationals. And actually, yeah, I think I have hearing issues now. I can't hear shit, but I made some good lifts. Anyways.
So it worked.
Huh?
It worked?
The ear smacking?
And the heat lotion?
Yes and no. Like, if you're somebody that doesn't overheat, I would say like I definitely cannot use it in the summer. But like in the winter, yes, it works. If you're somebody with a little tweak or your knees hurt, and it might not even be like an injury, like just kind of achy knees hurt, you're squatting a lot. Put some of that heat cream on the knees, you're good to go. And that's the thing. And speaking of, I could go on and on with these stories, but like Oleg trained at one time for the Army team through the Soviet Union. So you're like on the Soviet Union weightlifting team. So it's kind of like the weightlifting kind of takes you away from having to do all the Army stuff. That's like, hey, I'm a weightlifter. Like, I don't need to go do that. And so like anytime, you know, they'd have a workout like, you know, 5 sets of 5 clean pulls, whatever, from a deficit after they just did this, and this. And they're like, oh, you know, fuck, my back hurts. And the coach would go, you want to go to the Army? Oh, no, it's good. I can do it. Like, basically, you want to go to the Army and do all that bullshit where you got to, like, go outside and march in the freezing snow all day and hold a post and this and that? Or you want to do 5 sets of 5 pulls from the deficit? No, I'll do the pulls. So I always tell my, like, clients in classes, like, anytime they start feeling sorry for themselves or the workout's too hard, I say, like, as a joke, you want to go to the Army? Like, basically, it could be way worse.
Yeah. You
know? Of course, when you're, like, injured, you know, disclaimer, maybe sometimes go to the Army Reserve. Oh, my God.
Coast Guard.
Yeah, go to the Coast Guard and just chill. Sorry, I don't know what the Coast Guard, they're still working hard too, I'm sure. Sorry.
What else did you do in Belarus?
Drinking?
Yeah.
God. Yeah. It was funny too, because like I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm so cool I can drink a lot, but like when I showed up, I was so excited. They already had like the table set up, like so much food and alcohol. And I was like super excited and I just like started pouring shots. And I've been around Oleg long enough. I know like their kind of culture, like somebody's in charge of pouring shots. So like I said, I was excited. I just started pouring shots, just pounding after like, you know, a like 16-hour travel day. And his coach, Soviet Union general, his old coach, they're still like best friends or whatever. I guess he said something like, Oleg, like, I like when he pours, because like we were just like pounding. And I guess Oleg's like, I told you he can drink. So there's a lot of drinking, and then kind of like drink, go check, you know, something that had to do with Oleg's childhood, whether it was his sports school or his dad's farm or, you know, his girlfriend or, you know, go see his buddy's house and go, you know, he had his really good friend has like a really nice house with a sauna. So like that was kind of our go-to hangout area. The sauna would get to like, dude, I think it was up to like 280 to the point, swear to God. Yeah, like ridiculous. It was a wood burning. So you can keep putting wood, and then they got the water and they keep throwing it on there so you can get it really hot. Yeah, because like I've been in 240. Like I'm pretty sure at some points it got to like 260, maybe even 280. It was very hot. And to the point, to tell you how hot it was, you could not put your skin on the wood. It would burn you. That's how hot it was. And that's another thing, like how many American lifters are doing that? Going to a sauna that's 240 plus, getting massage, you know, jumping in the cold. Oh, and then he also had a cold plunge. I mean, it was badass. And it's just one of those things like in a perfect world, you do that a few times a week and you recover so fast. And that's how you progress quicker. And that's how, you know, you handle the difficult training. And a lot of people are just missing that. They just want to train more. And they're not using any of those recovery methods, which they work. I've experienced it firsthand, you know. But funny story, so the sauna was probably as hot as it could get. And the guy who owns the house, Kolya, he actually at one point was the president of the Belarusian Weightlifting Federation. And he took Taranenko and Oleg kind of like, he almost like sponsored them. And it's like he's like famous for like feeding his athletes caviar. They would eat like a shit ton of caviar. And they would use his sauna and blah, blah, blah. So anyways, I'm in the sauna with him. He doesn't speak English. I don't speak Russian. And he was like trying to tell me to sit on the wood. And we're naked. So I sit on the top bench and it's so hot. And I like jump up and I'm like, oh my, like burn me. And he told later on that he was joking with me, and then I actually did it, and he was like shocked. So then he felt dumb, so then he did it. And he jumped up and hit his head on the ceiling. And then he like told the story like, he's crazy, like I was joking, and he actually did it. So then I felt dumb, so then I did it too. But like literally you couldn't, I mean, for a split second, it'll burn you. So that's how hot the sauna was. And then picture, you're in there for 10 minutes, and you go jump in the cold pool and do that for a few rounds. I mean, your body feels brand new. And they had the birch tree bush where they smack you in the sauna.
What does that do? Just more blood flow?
Yes. And it's like kind of like if you're into that kind of stuff, like fetish, naked Russians hitting you with trees. I like it.
So you were like went to all like their training bases and stuff?
Yeah, so the national base, like we were gonna go to, but they were out of town. So it was just like bad timing. Like 100%, we have full access. Like Oleg's a big name there. Like I said, hanging out with Leonid Taranenko, the former president of the Belarusian Weightlifting Federation. Like they can do anything they want, take me anywhere. But the national team was out of town. So we pretty much went everywhere but there. Saw where like Taranenko used to train, and then Oleg at one point in his career used to train with him. And Taranenko kind of had like his own coach who actually like wasn't even a weightlifter. He was like a what's the word? He was like a scientist or like a physics type guy, physicist. So like he kind of like had these weird things that he was all about that obviously seemed to work, and Taranenko trusted him. And funny story that's popping in my head, because he wasn't a weightlifter. He was making Taranenko do like ridiculous pulls, clean pulls from the blocks, like 280, 290, like from the blocks, something like that. I mean, you got to remember the guy did 266 clean and jerk, so it's reasonable. And he kind of like started bitching at the coach, like, or the coach was like bitching at him, and he's like, why don't you come do it then? You think whatever, this and that. And supposedly he actually came over and like did it. What? Yeah. There's a story. I mean, he was like all about making him do like really heavy step ups for the knees. So like step ups with weight on the back, single leg step ups. Just like I said, a lot of this stuff is popping in my head, and I remember asking him like, what was with the heavy step ups? He's just like, build the knees, And if you watch a lot of the Taranenko videos, like he didn't even wear knee wraps, and the guy did or sleeves 266 clean and jerk and snatching 200 plus consistently, no knee wraps. So picture the amount of training and squats that you need to do to be able to put those numbers. So there's something to it. And then he used to make him do like pulls. I don't think they did the lifts, don't quote me, but I got pictures. Taranenko's coach, which Oleg trained with too.
The guardrails, yeah.
Yeah, he built like these wooden like posts so that like you would do the lift or the pull. And your bar path like basically had to stay within those pieces of wood, and it was like a permanent thing. Coaches now can like hold it up just for like, but this is like a permanent thing that you would lift inside. So it gives you feedback if your bar path is off a little bit, just stuff like that.
So that was his coach like his whole career?
I believe so. And then it's hard to say because like most of these guys, they have like, and you would know like in China, like you have maybe like your coach that kind of started you out, and then you go to like the national team, and that's usually a different coach. And then maybe you go to the Olympics, and then usually actually the Olympic coach would be like the national coach. But, over a career of, let's say 20 years, the coaches are going to change. And basically everybody has their personal coach, and then there's like a national coach.
Yeah, I was under the impression the better you get more resources. So like if you need this guy with you, he stays with you. There's still a head coach, but this is like my personal guy, and we're kind of working in conjunction.
Yeah, like the famous name Alexiev. I could probably mispronounce some of these names. Alexiev, the famous super heavyweight. Mm-hmm. Like he coached Oleg at one point. I mean, it's like there's this other guy. I'm bad with the names, but like he coached. He calls him. What does he call him? He's like in his 80s.
Well, that's a good story. Alexiev was Oleg's coach when he was a kid. I remember him telling that story, and he would make them do back extensions, and he would watch the quality of their back extensions in the morning. This was Alexiev, and would kind of have a good gauge of what they were going to be able to do every day.
Yeah. So if you are a weightlifting kind of nerd or like weightlifting, interested in weightlifting, a lot of people are always looking at these Russians and Russian style and Russian programming and Alexiev and Taranenko and this and that. Oleg, my coach, whatever, is like from that system and knows all those guys personally. Like I said, I could call Taranenko right now and get him on the FaceTime, which I've done before. So I just think that's cool because it's like so much history, And he's kind of at that age where he still knows all the older guys, but he's also, like he knows Klokov and Klokov's father and that kind of stuff.
I feel like more recently people are more interested in China. Some other countries are getting more popular. Most of it started with the Russians. They were doing all the research. Even the Chinese, when I was there, they referenced Russian. It was always they were referencing Russian. So they were taking what the Russians were doing and then trying to improve upon it. So this is like the genealogy. Everything started with the Russians, Chinese, and then everyone's building on all the research that the Russians were doing.
Yeah, I mean, he was born in 1967, so like he was kind of like in his prime or like learning in the 70s and 80s and like continued into the 90s, obviously 96 Olympian. So you picture the old timers in the sport when he was a young kid were still around. So he knows like everybody's. It's pretty cool. And we've talked about it, and I've been there, and it's very doable to kind of recreate that Chinese style.
I thought you were gonna say the naked sauna
trip, and the naked sauna is very doable.
I'm sure a lot of people would like to do that.
Yeah, and like I know, like I bought my tickets for like a little under 900, and then. I mean, we've already talked about it. Like Oleg's wife is like a really good cook. She can make food. This Kolya guy's got a big house with like lots of rooms, and then we could just do kind of what I did, maybe with a little bit less drinking.
Or more.
Yeah, whatever. But like, it's cool. It's cool, man. And like now that we're like really talking about it, like whatever on camera, like. Kind of want to make it happen because, it's.
I mean, travel's probably a little weird right now, but
no, for sure,
Yeah.
In the future, it doesn't have to be 1 million people. 10 people. Yeah. I think less is better. More tight group. Easier to manage and like everything's pretty close. Like I said, Belarus for me was like I wasn't. Oh my God, I'm in Russia. It was. Normal, cool. You're with a guy, Oleg, who knows everybody and this and that. Easy to get a taxi and drive around. And anyways, I think it'd be very beneficial and interesting for people if we ever decide to do it. And it was fun. But I will say at one point I was just like, more drinking, shit.
Too much.
Well, yeah, because I was kind of like in my head, I pictured like, I'm going to go train with the national team and I'm going to show Taranenko what I can do. I was just like, oh, God, just like do something. I at the sports school, I jerked 160 and I was just like, that's good. I'm happy with that. It feels so heavy.
You're doing a lot of sightseeing and drinking and
eating for sure.
And then you're
totally no routine at all over the place. I mean, we were drinking all day. Actually, when I did the 160, I drank that morning. It's just like, so dehydrated. Joints feel horrible. Weights feel heavy. I think it was like almost a 2-hour drive to his sports school. So like by the time I got there, and it was the winter, by the time I got there, I was just like, I don't even want to lift. But when I came in, I saw the kids. I'm like, all right, I'll do something.
Environment.
Anyways.
So what did you eat there? What's like their food?
So what's interesting too, because I've never been to a foreign country or another country. Just everything's like real fresh, like from a farm or from a neighbor or from like, this guy's got to hook up with this or they grow it in their own backyard. So like they're all about like sala, which is basically bacon, pig. But they eat it cold, but they like cure it. And it was like so good. So picture it's like bacon, but it's not cooked. But it's like soft. And it's a little, salty if you want to like dip it in some sour cream. They're all about sour cream, which I am too.
Heavy on the fats.
Yeah. And then just like always like every meal is like cucumbers sliced up, tomatoes, and like, you know, quality like bread and just like all natural foods, like zero processed. And there like happened to be like a pizza place like by where I was staying. I was like, oh, let's get a pizza. And they were just like, they like,
American.
Yeah, they're just like, as you know, like if you're used to this, like, and that's all you know, like it's like the thought of getting like pizza or like processed food, you're like, I'm good. But I was like, I want to get some pizza. But like, yeah, it's just all natural food and lots of like, oh yeah, Taranenko said he ate a lot of sala, which is basically bacon, fat, and then caviar, and just like I said, they eat a lot of cucumber, tomato, sour cream.
So not a lot of starches, carbs.
Oh, potatoes. I'd say potatoes and bread. Yes, potatoes and bread. They're like Ireland. I'm serious. They're like known for potatoes. Oh, a lot of mushrooms too. They're like all about mushrooms. They like pick their own. It's funny because Oleg's always like, oh, I picked these for free in Belarus, and here they charge like $40 a pound, which is true. And then they'll like pick them during mushroom season. You just go in the forest and pick as many as you want. Like he'll send me videos of like bags, and then they like ferment them and, you know, stuff like that. A lot of fish. They eat a lot of fish. Yeah.
Well, it kind of sounds like China in the sense of mostly proteins and veggies.
Normal.
Yeah.
Whole foods. Nothing processed and fresh. Like nothing like, you know, it's all like in a freezer. Like, oh, my friend gave me this sala, and they just got like a ton of bacon basically. And they keep it frozen, and then they bring it out when they want to eat it. Or they go to the market or whatever, like daily. Or like I said, they got mushrooms that they picked from the season before, and they got like jars and jars and jars of them that are fermented, so they're good to eat, you know, for however long. And yeah.
Nice. So in terms of like Oleg saying like trying to replicate that style in America, you kind of were part of that in terms of Muscle Driver. Mm-hmm. It's like they were trying to recreate like a team and a professional weightlifter don't have to do anything but lift. So what was that like?
Muscle Driver?
Yeah.
So for me, like I went to Muscle Driver pretty early in my weightlifting career. So like at the time I knew Oleg, but like I think I was like, maybe I knew him for like a year, a little more than a year, maybe 2 years.
That long?
It's like 2013,
so
I think, I went to Muscle Driver.
Half a year, or was it longer? Because you started lifting,
like,
then there was the Oleg. We met Oleg,
yeah.
And then you were training with him, kind of.
Well,
and then you had that opportunity.
It was like, basically I knew him, but not for a long time. Like we went to a couple seminars with him.
I feel like you had lifted for like a year, and then you were maybe a couple months, like maybe 6 months. I could be wrong. I'm not good with time frames.
Me either. I started lifting around 2010.
But that was when I think then it was like you should go try to do this professionally. And
I think I met Oleg in like 2011. That's where Facebook helps a little sometimes. Yeah, like I'll get a memory. Because even Oleg Danilov, other Oleg, was like, how long have I known you? And I was like, actually, this Facebook memory of when we went to Oleg's first seminar was 2011. So it's like 10 years. Now.
Different Oleg. So anyway, Oleg Danilov was from around here, and Oleg knew Oleg Kechko.
They grew up together.
And he used to bring Oleg out to host the seminar out here.
Yep.
And we caught wind of it and went, and then Tim hit it off with Oleg Kechko. So there's two Olegs.
Yep.
So it's confusing. Oleg Danilov's a really good lifter too, and they knew each other.
He's actually coming to visit next weekend, Austin.
Danilov?
Yeah. Supposed to stay with me. It's going to be fun. But, I went to Muscle Drive.
They lifted together too, right? When they were
younger? They grew up together, and then Oleg's career kind of took off, and Danilov was a really good lifter. He just kind of didn't make it to the same level. And he's still lifting, actually. He's like in his early 50s. Right? Yeah, like he's got like the records and masters. He's won like 1 million national championships. was assistant coach for the Bulls in the Jordan era. Just some of the people I know. Anyways, so yeah, muscle driver. My whole point in that story of the timeline was like, it was early in my career when I went to muscle driver. So like I didn't have that experience of going to Belarus. I didn't know Oleg for very long. So like I was eating like a moron. Like I wasn't eating enough. I wasn't like recovering enough. I was like all into foam rolling. I was like, everyone's got like those different stages. Remind me to tell the foam rolling story. So I was just like in that stage of my career. And like, so when I went to muscle driver, like I had really good results quick because of just that atmosphere. But like I couldn't keep up. I wasn't doing good recovery stuff.
Technically, too.
I wasn't eating enough.
You were pretty new.
I was very raw.
And they were all about intensity and volume. And
exactly.
Your technique was still.
Exactly. So I started getting like my knee or my hip started bothering me. And then like, even if you took a day or two off, like you got a 2-a-day again the next day, like, and I wasn't getting massage. I wasn't like doing any stretching.
So muscle driver, some people probably don't know because that's already like
it's kind of like ahead of its time. Like there was nothing like that before.
So that was Glenn
For
Pendley.
sure.
They had muscle driver they made
it's like Raww.
Gym equipment, like a Rogue, yeah. And they made gym equipment, and then they took some of their proceeds and put together. They stipend some lifters, and they recruited guys. And Tim went through. So when Tim was working here, he went through the tryout process. I forget, was that like an online thing or like a?
Penley saw it when my 400 clean.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sneeze.
So then Tim had met Pendley online. They'd exchanged some messages. He saw some of Tim's lifts.
Where's my mask?
Saw some of Tim's lifts, and so then the opportunity came. He got invited to go out there, lift in like a professional as it could be, type setting in like the warehouse. There's still videos on YouTube, I feel.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of them. Yeah, so they like I gotta hand it to him. Like that's not easy, and like. So yeah, like I still have the messages on Facebook from Glenn, rest in peace. He said he liked my speed, and he kind of said like that speed is hard to find. So I'm very confident with my coaching strengths, like I can help you in your other areas with that speed. So anyways, I had like really good progress, but like I started getting like tweaks and this and that, and like you get overtrained, man. And like when you get overtrained, like legit overtrained, and you're in pain and you just have to keep training and like pushing big weights, and there's pressure and there's stipends, and they have like different levels, and you're not making a ton of money, but you're trying to get to the next level to make more money. So like you want to push, but then like you're still hurting. And like I said, I was still pretty new, and I just got to the point, I was like, man, I'm like away from my family, my girlfriend, this and that. And I just decided to move back. And then actually not long after that, muscle driver was no longer. So in a weird way, I kind of got out in time. Mm-hmm. But it was a really good experience. Met a lot of good guys, girls. Morgan King, 2016 Olympian, was on that team. And like I said, if it's a simple case of like, if I knew what I knew now when I was there, I think I would have done even better. Mm-hmm. Not even like with technique and training, but just like recovery and nutrition, that kind of stuff.
Well, I think, in my opinion, for anybody listening, it was the case of pushing results before like a stable foundation. Like the goal was to continue to drive your numbers up, but almost at the expense of development. Like you were still pretty new.
For sure.
And you were trying to push results faster than development, I guess, from my perspective anyway.
Yeah, like it was very competitive atmosphere. And then, like I said, like you're literally getting paid to lift weights. And if you can lift more weights, you can get paid more. So like, you're not like, oh, let me stay a little lighter for a couple months and really iron out my technique. You're like, no, like I want to prove myself. I want to make more money. And anyways, back to that foam rolling. So like I was in like that was like my extent of recovery. I would just like foam roll a lot before training. And I'm sure it helped at certain points or to some extent. But I remember when I moved to Austin, Texas to train with Oleg, and I was like rolling on the foam roller. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, I'm rolling out. And he's like, by the time like you're gonna start training, like you're gonna have no more energy. And I'm just like, and he's like, stretch out with the weights, like warm up with the bar. Like you don't need that foam rolling. And anyways, that's a funny story. I mean, you go foam roll. I was overdoing it, put it that way. And he makes a point. If you're training, especially twice a day, or just if you're training 6-7 days a week and you're foam rolling 15-20 minutes before you're even going to start the workout, by the time to start the workout, you're just like, I'm over it. You know, like get in, start moving, warm up with the bar, and go from there. And then he taught me this again. It's like common sense, but the quicker you get in and get out, the quicker you recover. If you sit there and drag it out and foam roll for 20 minutes and then do a stretch and a perfect little warm-up routine, although that stuff is important to some extent, whatever, you're taking away from your training too. So it depends on where you're at in your training and your career, but he had a point.
That was a big thing that I took away from knowing Oleg. And then also similar to being in China was the tempo of the training session was in, get going, go, cool down, done.
Yeah.
It was like you're working. You're not there to foam roll for 25 minutes and then talk to somebody. Like your body's got that window, the anabolic window.
Yes.
And you get as much done as you can and then you undo it.
Yeah, and he even went as far. I mean, you got to remember, I've been around this guy a long time, and like he went as far to explain that too. He said, "I don't care who you are. I don't care, Olympic champion, 5-time Olympic champion. You can only stay at this level for so long." So, once again, like disclaimer, yes, if you need to foam roll, and loosen something up, like okay, but like do it with purpose and don't sit there like aimlessly for 20 minutes. You know, roll your quads and move on. But yeah, like once again, like why do you think these professionals, and they're professionals? So like even when I played baseball and coached baseball, I used to say, guys, the professionals are hitting off the tee 200 swings a day. So what makes you think, A, you don't need to do it at all, or B, you shouldn't be doing double or triple that? You know, so the professional weightlifters are training 2 or 3 times a day because they know that shorter training sessions are more doable because your body can only stay at that certain level for so long. What makes you think you as a non-professional can train for 3-4 hours and stay at that elevated high level? You know what I'm saying? So once again, another thing, just like what Will just said, like get in with purpose, move with purpose, and keep moving. You know, then you even go into like other stuff. Like this is, if you're doing the lifts, it's a lot of technique. It's a lot of like coordination. Don't fall asleep. Like keep moving. Feel the technique. And even Lasha just put out a video. He's lifting ridiculous weights. He literally says, as he gets heavier, he rests shorter. You can quote me on that. Well, I just hope the translation's right. Yeah, Tarokti put out a video of Lasha, and he said, as he gets heavier, obviously as you get heavier, you're doing probably more singles or doubles, so you don't need as long of rest. You're not doing like a set of 5 back squat. You don't need to rest for 5 minutes. And like I said, like arguably the best lifter of all time, literally saying he rests shorter as the weights go up. Like keep moving, keep that arousal level, nervous system on point. You know,
it's like a volume knob or like a graph. It's like you turn it up, you turn it up, you turn it up, and then you start turning it back down. It shouldn't be like straight down, straight up, too flat. Like it's optimal.
Or you got people that they go crazy fast in their warm-ups, and then when they get to the bigger weight, like they slow down. It should be like like go a little slower in the warm-ups. Take your time, like, kind of get prepared properly, and then once you get to those working weights, like keep moving. I I see the
tempo.
opposite. People
Rhythm.
like flying in the warm-ups, and then they get to their working set, and they're like all of a sudden, or they're at like a heavy single, and now they want to like start talking about world events to their friends. I'm like, dude, you just got to like, you're like 90%. Now you want to start talking?
I better check my phone.
Yeah, like, you know, what are you doing? So it's just lots of details, you know, and that's where it's like, it's nothing new, but like you gotta get somebody like who's done it and like knows more than you know, and just be like a sponge. Like this, like, not to sound like I'm so cool, but like the amount of stuff I learned from Will, I mean, you, and like, it's just like keep learning. And like, that's the thing. Like, there's this internet has created this like breed of people that think they can just go watch the internet and do it. No, I'm sorry, you can't. I've seen people try to do it. It's no way. Because that little YouTube video doesn't know you as a person, doesn't know your history, doesn't know where you're at in your training, doesn't know your flaws. So maybe this YouTube video is talking about, you know, stay over the bar. The person watching might not even know what that means. You know what I mean? And then now they're like spending whatever time like trying to even figure out what that means and maybe screwing it up, you know? So although the internet is great, but like nothing can replace an Oleg or a Will or a Kurt and
A mentor speeds
Yeah.
up the learning
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
for like a beginner, like that's the most crucial time is to have like a good foundation.
yes, but it speeds up the learning process, but it's also when you get to that elite level, you need an elite person to know those details, how to keep it going, you know? Not saying like, as a coach, your athlete should never like outdo you, but like at least it's like, hey, I've been at that level too. Take any professional sport, Major League Baseball. These guys are professional hitters, but they still have a hitting coach. Most of those hitting coaches have been at that level. They may not be like record-setting guys or like the best in the world, but they've been at that level. So like they can talk about stuff and be on the same page and tweak stuff. I mean, your coach or whatever.
They have a level of success to know how
Yeah.
to keep you progressing.
You're learning from somebody that hasn't done the stuff that you're trying to do. Like it's pointless, really. And another story, Oleg had remember split snatch, right? Mm-hmm. That used to be the competition lift up until whatever year. I don't know. You can look it up. But it used to be split snatch. And Oleg was at a training, whatever, base or whatever, training, snatching. And this old school coach tried to come up to him and tell him how to snatch. He said, don't try to tell me how to snatch because you never did snatch. You did split snatch. Like, it's so true. Like, you never did this. How are you going to tell me how to snatch? You never did snatch. You did split snatch. It's different. Similar stuff, but it's way different. So, like, that's my recommendation. Like, you got to find somebody who's, like, higher level than you. And if you get to a level where that coach can no longer whatever, like, keep going. You know? And that's why, like, when I started, Will obviously was way past me. He had Jianping Ma, Chinese Olympian, with him. And, like, already it's like, dude, I got a long ways to go to even come close to their level. Then I randomly met Oleg, and it was a whole different kind of perspective and whatever. And it's just like you're always pursuing more knowledge, details, and that's how it's got to be. It's not just, oh, I watched this YouTube video, and I'm going to do, you know, these 3 things, and I'm going to be successful. It's like so many details. And it's always changing. Might be this detail this month. Okay, we fixed that. Now we got other problems, you know? So.
It's kind of crazy how both of you, like, way early in, like, your weightlifting journey encountered these 2 Olympians.
Well, you know why? because we both played high-level baseball. And I never wanted to learn from somebody worse than me. You know, when I got to college, like, I was like, "Who you gonna tell me how to hit? Like, you better be somebody," you know? And so, like, I took that mentality, and I know Will did too. Like, if you want to learn something new or be good at something, find the best mother effer that you can find and learn from that person. Otherwise, you're wasting your time.
That's basically how I got here. Is I saw your snatch. Like, I've never even seen, like, because I was in CrossFit, like into CrossFit, and no one ever lifted that much for snatch. And then it's like seeing like this is within driving distance. It's like, why I'd be stupid to go anywhere else to try to learn.
Yeah, and I made a point, not try to say like we're Michael Jordan, but it's just to make a point. Like, if you're trying to like be good at basketball or like go to the NBA, and Michael Jordan was teaching basketball 30 minutes away, would you? Oh, that's too far. I would fucking drive 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 1 hour. I don't care because it's Michael Jordan. Mm-hmm. So it's like, just to make the point, if there's somebody in your area that's doing what you want to do or like to that level, go find their ass, you know?
It is a unique trait. I mean, you do have to think a little bit outside the box. You have to be willing to do things at your own, separate from the pack, you know? And sometimes, too, to challenge coaches. As a coach, your athletes will press you, kind of what you're saying. They want to continue making progress. So if you're a coach and you don't have the tools and the knowledge to help your athlete make progress, then you either better keep up with that athlete or outpace them with what you're learning and your education to help them keep making progress, or get involved yourself.
Yeah, and I do think it's a two-way street because, you know,
my point is sometimes coaches can say, I'm the coach. But sometimes you became the coach because you hung around long enough, because the coach above you left. It's not necessarily because you were perfectly qualified.
Right.
Sometimes people get thrown into that situation. And I think some coaches take that responsibility more seriously than others. You know, we talked last week, Kurt all of a sudden was put in a situation where he was responsible for training people at his gym, and he didn't feel comfortable. He felt like he had to expand his knowledge. So he sought somebody that knew more than him, and it's exactly what you're saying. Exactly what I did. It's if you have a gap in your knowledge, then yeah, even as a coach, you should be seeking somebody that's going to further your knowledge base. And
we're still always talking about stuff and trying new stuff, and like, you know, I'm still trying new stuff with my lifters. Like, hey guys, you know, once again, our technique's all pretty good, but like we got to get stronger. So like, let's chill on the lifts for a little bit. And, you know, back to like, it's a two-way street too. Like, as a coach, you know, most coaches have a lot of stuff going on. You know, they got a lot of athletes. It's a lot of people in their head, and they're human. So like, as an athlete, and I had to do this with Oleg, if you want to kind of like, you have to show that coach, like, I'm willing to do what you're asking of me. Like, I wanted, you know, because the coach only has so much to give too. And like, when those athletes show that, coaches are drawn to that. And like, so I recommend, you know, if you already have a good coach or whatever, and you feel like you're stagnating, talk to your coach, like communicate. What can I do different? What can I do better? And bam, you'll see like, wow, my coach knows a lot more than I thought. Or like, wow, he gave me some insight into nutrition and how important it is. Wow, taking some magnesium before bed might help me sleep better. You know, just like push your coach too. If you want to go to that next level, like that coach cannot pull you all the way along. It's a two-way street.
The best analogy I've ever heard was I had a professor in psychology, and he said it's like the way he looked at his role as your teacher was as a facilitator. And he said in law school, the goal of law school is to pass the bar exam. So the student and the teacher were partners in the process of making sure that student passed the bar exam. So they're both helping each other. Like, the goal is progress. So the coach is helping the athlete. It's not, I'm going to stand up here and control the information and you can either get it out of me or you can't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's a mutual process. And I think athletes respect that. And kind of like how you went to seek new information, you, myself, when you don't feel like the coach is mutually working in conjunction with your efforts, then you kind of start to seek information elsewhere. And it's an important responsibility of the coach to just make sure that you're laying the path for each athlete to help get to where they want to go. And like you said, the athlete motivates the coach. So if you tell somebody to do X, Y, Z and they do it, and then they move past that stepping stone, it's like, okay, now we can go to here, but you still haven't done this. Let's not worry about this.
Right. And to, stay on that point, you have the athlete that's, what can I do better? What can I do? And you tell them till you're blue in the face multiple times and they don't do it. The coach is human, and they're not that they give up, but they like, what more do you want me to do? Like, I can't come home and spoon feed you.
Right.
And force feed you the food and shut your eyes before 11 p.m. to go to sleep. Like, it's a two-way street. And like, if you want to get more out of your coach, show them that you're willing to do the extra stuff and you're willing to listen. And I'm telling you, that will motivate the coach to be more
That is interesting.
Involved.
So you use that analogy. Myself, Tim, we're all coachable in these situations too. You were extremely coachable. He was coachable. I was coachable. So we were using these people as resources. I say using, but like getting the knowledge from people that have already walked the path that you're trying to walk, and then being coachable in that process.
That's probably like the number one trait, like being coachable. Like if you're not, I feel like that's some resentment. Like the coach, it's like a waste of time if.
It's a waste of everyone's time.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And then like, I don't know if you guys have ran into this, but I'm sure, like, people think like you have favorites or like you don't pay enough attention to me. It's like, well, do something impressive. Show me that you want to like improve. Like, show me your good attitude. When I try to help you and you get frustrated and like don't listen, naturally as a coach, you're like, okay, I'm going to leave that person alone. Oh, wow, this person's like eating up everything I'm saying and actually doing it.
You're human.
I like this person. Yeah.
Some people are in different spaces in their life too, where somebody might want to, like right now for me, if I took on Oleg as a coach and I said, hey, take me through a 12-week program, get me in really good shape. And he's like, how are you sleeping? I'd be, not good. How are you eating? Erratic. How's your training schedule? Distracted. So even though my mind is in it, I'm not doing what's being suggested of me. So I feel coachable, but I can't do what the coach is asking me to do. It's just really not in the cards. So like, what can I do to be successful? But then also I would own my own shit. I understand that I can't get enough sleep. I'm not prioritizing it. So I'm not doing my part of it. So I wouldn't turn around and look at my coach and be like, this isn't working for me. It's just like.
Yeah, that's where like a simple example of like your goal or your level of involvement, like effort, has to like match your level of
right. And people take that personally, but like if you just say that out loud, this is not a priority for me.
Yeah, Oleg would just say like, doesn't matter. Like then.
Yeah. Go sit in the sauna. Oh, I can't. You're basically saying this is not a priority.
He wouldn't say like,
and that's okay.
Well, it's okay. We can still hit those big numbers.
Right.
He said like, just don't do it. Don't just train whatever you can. But like, you're not doing those things. Like, that's it.
It's not in the cards.
Yeah, it's it. There's no like special like, oh, but I took this special supplement and I did this and took more caffeine or I'm doing this special program. It doesn't matter. You're not going to do what you want to do because all these other pieces are missing. It's like no secret. I'm telling you, like.
Yeah, it's all effort.
Yeah, like it's just.
Sometimes people might not understand, and I think that's where a coach can help too, is you continue reinforcing the same messages. Like you're trying to drive your strength up, but you're under eating.
I want a Ferrari.
Those two don't go very well
I want
together.
a Ferrari, but I only want to work 15 hours a week. At McDonald's. Is that going to match my Ferrari with that income?
I go to sleep at 11.
It's that simple.
I wake up at 5.
It's that
Why
simple.
are my workouts feel like garbage?
It's that simple. And
But you got to own it. There's no right or wrong. Just
for sure.
own it. Like at this stage in my life, for me to make aggressive progress,
look in the mirror.
people will say like, "How's your training?" I'll be like, "I'm hanging in there.
I'm maintaining.
I'm not looking to like.
Yeah,
I'm not going
there's
to set
nothing
any
wrong with that.
PRs, right? But yeah, exactly.
Be healthy and just make sure your commitment matches your expectation. That's what I was trying to say. And so, like, yeah, it's really that simple. And like, look in the mirror, and if you don't like something, make the change. If you can't make the change, look in the mirror again. Get 2 mirrors, like, to get the side view to see you're full of shit.
People are just quick to move to the next source of information. Like, stay over the bar. Hey, I tried staying over the bar today. Nothing happened. What else is out there?
Tried it for one workout.
What else is out there?
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't fix their sleep or their nutrition or.
Yeah, my back. I
recovery.
can't say. Are you doing your back extension in the warm up like I effing told you a million times? No. Well, your back's weak.
I call it eliminating variables. There's got to be a better way to say it, but there's a guy.
Not eliminate, control.
Control. Yeah.
Control.
Well, to make them not a
To the
factor.
best of your
To make them
ability.
not a factor.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I have one guy. Hey, you got to eat a little more. Okay. How you been doing with the eating? Better. Not awesome, but better. Continues making nice, steady progress. And he's learning the Olympic lifts. If I make a technical change, by the next time we come to it, it's taken care of. He focused enough on that technical change that I didn't have to keep cueing him through it. He just took it, worked on it. 3 weeks later, we can move on to the next.
Well, the
challenge.
other thing too that's interesting is like take that guy, and then he goes on vacation for 2 weeks, and then whatever comes back, and this like he kind of maybe lost it a little bit. Like it's a constant and never-ending fight to like have perfection. Like you will never get it, and the quicker you understand that and like just learn to enjoy the process. And then, like, you're always going to be fighting something, like, you will have better results. You know, it's like, understand that there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be periods where you're not eating enough or your sleep is shit. Like, it's natural. Like, you can't be perfect. Accept that, understand that, know that it's a process, you know?
You like
it's always adjusting.
You likened it to like a puzzle. Like there's all these pieces and they're all kind of scattered on the floor and it's all coming at you fast and you got to start putting some pieces together. But once these pieces are in place, like those got to stay in place to keep piecing it together.
Right.
If you take this and pull it and throw it back, it's like...
And sometimes you finish the one puzzle, but then you go to the next puzzle. You know, you did the puzzle of the skyline of Chicago. Now you got a puzzle of staying over the bar. Picture of Lasha over the bar, you know, then the puzzle's bigger, you know, then it's more complicated. I mean, it's like, it's never ending. Just shut up and accept that. And that's it. And you'll be more successful.
But that's what's cool about having a mentor and a coach is they basically show you the front of the box and they go, here's what the puzzle's supposed to look like. And it's, oh, okay. And then you can start piecing it together. Otherwise, you're just staring at this fucking puzzle and you don't know what you're supposed to be doing. Like, which one's the more important, you know?
Another thing too, speaking of what we're talking about, people are always looking for these like, you know, secrets to putting the puzzle together. Like, I know if I do these three things, or most people are telling me, or my mentor's telling me to do these 3 things, but I'm just like, I think like these other things, like I'm going to intermittent fast, or like I'm going to do this vibration therapy, and, you know, like these, you know what I'm saying? Like these things, all these little things that you think help, and maybe they help a small percentage, but you're missing like the meat and potatoes. And I was guilty of that because I never was like big into nutrition. I would like, you know, I kind of ate like shit and was like always jacked. But I didn't eat enough. I just didn't know a ton about nutrition. And so like when Oleg kept telling me like, you got to eat. This food will give you power and this and that. I was like, yeah. I'm going to do this stuff and I'm going to foam roll more. That's going to take me to the top. No, like you got to like trim unnecessary fat that like you think helps, but it's taking away from the main things that you need to be doing that you're not. Like eating enough, sleeping enough.
Energy's a limited resource.
Yeah.
If you're foam rolling for 40 minutes a day, if you can narrow that down to 10 minutes a day, now you got 30 more minutes a day.
Yes.
We used to, so Oleg too, and you can talk to some of this, like in China, they would say, so the volume knob, like I said, you turn it up, your session ramps up, and then they would say that you almost got to undo everything you just did. Mm-hmm. You cool down, you work opposing muscle groups, you do massage, you do cupping, you take your supplements, you go eat. So now we just undid all that stress that we just did to our body to speed and start the recovery process immediately after.
Yeah.
So Oleg would be as specific as like, take your shoes off right away.
Oh, yeah.
Like things to just start.
He kicked me out of the gym
body.
when I first moved there. I'm like trying to make friends, and I'm the new guy. He's like, get out! Like every time you open your mouth, you're losing energy, and it was actually brutal in the beginning. I wanted to kill him because I lived with him too. Like he would bitch at the way I walked in the house. Like you walk on your heels. That's why you can't fucking snatch. Walk on the balls of your feet. And I was just like, God damn it. Or like, I'd make my little, like, at the time I was doing bulletproof coffee. There you go. I'm like, oh, I'm going to fucking bulletproof coffee my way to the top and intermittent fast and this and that. And he's like, you're bullshit blender. And he's like, yeah. And then, like, I would find when he's an awesome cook, you know, and it goes back to, like, you know, that whole food. So, like, I found, like, when I would really just, like, he would force feed me, dude. And be like, eat, like more. I'm like, ugh. And I would like train awesome that day, you know? It's like, I'm like, I was dumb. You know, I thought my stupid little internet things were smarter than the fucking Olympian who clean and jerked 200 kilos at 75 kilos body weight. And it took me going through the process and whatever and like learning the hard way, like, yeah, you gotta fucking eat good, powerful, strong, whole foods. That's number one, you know? And like, he would bitch at me for looking at my phone.
Well, even the sauna. I mean, the Chinese use the sauna, and then they immediately go into like a meat locker. That's like the newer thing. They have an actual meat locker in the training hall. So when the guys use the sauna, they basically cook, and then they go right in the meat locker to calm their bodies back down.
Yeah.
But then Oleg said basically, like, if you're not using the sauna,
He said, might as well not train.
like, forget it.
Verbatim, that's what he said. If you're not using if you're watching this, that's just a little hint into go look in the mirror that an Olympian told me, if you're not using the sauna, might as well not train. That's just about the sauna. When's the last time you used the sauna, people? That's just a small piece. And he's saying, like, you're wasting your time, you know? Because it's just like you fuck your body up, you damage your body when you're legit training, doing power clean plus push press, back squat, 5.5 at fucking 85%, and then
Inflammation.
snatch pull from the deficit, and then squat jumps, 3 sets of 10, and then back extensions. Go do that workout. Like, you know, it's like
You're sort of the touch.
And then when you get to the higher levels, like those workouts F you up kind of even more. Like, and then to keep up with that every day and keep moving forward, if you don't do the sauna, if you don't eat enough, if you don't sleep enough, that training will make you worse. You'll get worse. And you'll get pissed and you'll quit.
Remember?
I mean, that's being extreme, but you get the point.
When Kurt first started here, we used to go to the sauna and the hot tub.
The coffee's kicking in.
We would meet once a week, and we would usually do it in the sauna and the hot tub at LA Fitness, and like basically just hour and a half of like contrast.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so you both went to your coach's basically home country to like see it for yourself. So like, how did that change? Like, because I'm sure they were telling you this stuff before you went, but like your trust for them after like seeing like it happen, like from like what the young kids do to like the older athletes, like is that perspective like needed? Because before that you kind of maybe didn't trust them as much, but then seeing like this is real.
I mean, I'll tell you, I trusted And then I was just like verifying. Like,
Yeah.
I already bought in. He could have told me to slam my head into a brick wall 35 times and the pain would spark some kind of inflammation process. And I'd be like, all right, 35? Is this hard enough?
Hey, I'm going to put this really hot cream on you, and then I'm going to smack your ears so you can't hear, and then we're going to go to the sauna, and we're going to get naked. Yeah. I'm going to walk on you naked, dripping sweat on your back. Okay.
It's normal.
Is that going to help me clean and jerk 400? So I trusted him, but like for me it was different because I didn't go to Belarus. I went to Belarus in 2019, so I already knew Oleg for like 7 years. I think Will went to China really quick when he met Jianping. So like he already's been beating a lot of this stuff into my head. So like I was doing it, but yes, there is that extra, as much as you like, damn, this guy's legit and whatever, and he's telling me this. When you go and see it in person, it's just like that little extra like reassurance. Like Taranenko's telling me that eating was harder than training. He said that. He speaks English. He told me that eating, he had to be like a machine, and it was harder than the training. He said that.
So did it reinforce more of the lifestyle part of like what it takes versus just like doing?
Yeah, I think at that point it was not that I didn't know what it took, especially after going through muscle driver and my own training and this and that. It was more a rekindling of like that fire to like no more messing around. And like when I came back, I jerked 205 because I put those little extra things to use, and I think everybody needs always that little re-motivation. Even like when you guys came to Texas, it kind of like pumped you up to start lifting again, and everybody needs that. And that's why these guys travel. If you notice, they go train with each other.
There were guys in China that were from other bases that had stagnated, and they just sent them to.
You're in the same four walls, the same platform,
sure.
The same coach, the same cues.
Oleg, for me, so the timeline for you is different. You started training here. You went to Muscle Drive. You met Oleg. Mm-hmm. You actually went to train with Jianping for like a 3-day camp.
It was longer.
It was kind of sporadic.
Yeah.
And then you went and learned from Oleg. So you had a pretty good. My only representation was Jianping. So then when I met Oleg, I thought it was going to be fun to compare and contrast, because you hear about Russian, you hear about Chinese, and then Oleg was, he's not only like a great technical instructor, but he's also got a really good way with words and like just getting you to buy in. He hammers the singular point, and then I don't know, something about him. He gets immediate buy-in from you. He's kind of like a.
Well, you already played a high level baseball. You trained under Jianping, so like bullshit when you see it, and good when you see it. And so like that's the difference. And it was the same for me. Like
he's sharp.
He tells you
sharp.
How to tie your shoes. He's smart. He's got just like hey, before you squat, like you're going underwater, like breathe and then go under. Like it's just like stupid details that like you spend like forever trying to teach these people, like you gotta breathe so you can brace. Like, hey, like you're going underwater. I'm like, dude, that's genius. It's just like you go on and on with that stuff. So when you're somebody who's already been a coach, you're coaching people, and you like hear this stuff that he's saying, you're like, oh my God, it's like genius. Yeah. And he's just like bam, bam, bam. And he's charismatic.
I remember he told me, move your grip in a little bit. Hey, the world's going to keep spinning in the same direction. Move your grip in.
Yeah, like move your grip in.
Somebody wanted to have a 30-minute
Let's
discussion.
try it. Like, it might hurt. You might die. He's like, hey, the world's still going to spin. Like, just do it. Like, don't like,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
I had a pretty specific goal when I met him too. And he hit it right on the head, which I appreciated. So I would equate my time with Jianping to like my foundational, and then I started to get to like more intermediate / advanced, and then that was when Oleg came in and like put the icing on the cake. So he was more like the personal coach at the higher level. Hey, you've already done all these things that were like, you already did a lot of the grunt work. here's what I want you to do. And then I did it, and it was like,
And that's the thing with him. He's
6
he's
weeks.
very like certain and like confident, like what he's saying. So like when you feel that, like as an athlete, you're like, okay, not like let's try it. Let's see how it goes. He's no like this. This is it. 100%. Do what I'm telling you.
and like you said, you start to learn to be able to tell the difference. Like when somebody knows,
Right.
do your pulls from your heels. Trust me, like flat-footed pulls, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Done.
And like when it makes sense, and they can like explain it too. But that's the thing too. Like as a coach, there's a time and a place to feel like you have to explain yourself. But when you made it to a certain level, you earn the right to say, "But why should I do that, Tim?" Because I said. Well, it's like, yeah, just like shut up and do it, because time is of the essence. And like,
You're also going to learn by doing it.
yeah,
Go through the process.
exactly. I'm not saying that you never explain something to your client,
Can't
but like
teach you
you're in
everything.
the middle of a training session and you tell,
Right.
well, why would I,
It's not a good time
Why would you
for
do
people
that?
to retain information.
yeah, that's why I always
Understand
Oleg
an
would be like,
advanced concept.
why'd you do that? Because I can. Just do it. Just do it. Talk later.
And you make sense of it as you go.
And
He-
yeah.
He was here and he said, hey, I want you to do all your snatch pulls flat-footed for 6 weeks. Muscle snatch flat-footed.
You know who always
6
does
weeks.
flat-footed pulls? I've never seen him extend on the toes.
Ooh, Lasha.
Yep.
So I did it. 6 weeks later, my snatch went from 140 to 146. And then shortly after, 150 from the blocks.
Yep.
So he tells me to do something, done.
Well, that goes back to like Taranenko, like more incline, more eating. My jerk went from like 180-ish, like struggling, to 205. That's ridiculous. Not like overnight, but like pretty quick. And, that's fun for a coach when you tell somebody and they're just like crazy. And even Oleg, like early on, he used to like go back and like tell these guys, like, this guy's crazy. Like, I never seen somebody so crazy, like for weightlifting. And that's, I think, why he was like drawn to me, because I was already, naturally had some whatever potential. But to be like, he fucking said more bench or eat more or do this or do that. And like, he just does it.
What's the best ability? Coach ability.
Yeah.
So how much would you be inclining bench? Like heavy?
I got up to 315 with a rigged up incline. A bench on a box, 315.
It's like 45 degree, like middle incline?
45.
Yeah.
Now I have it inclined and I kind of mix it up. I mix it up.
Right.
And yeah, that's the other thing too. Like Taranenko, like, I did like most. I started doing like pause squats or this or that, and you're kind of like, why? It's like, well, when you get to that level, you have to just try whatever you can to like get to that extra 5 kilos. Fucking maxing out your step ups or, just whatever it is. It's no just like exact straight path to your goal.
You're piecing together 6, 8, 12-week chunks of time, or like even for us, we plan out longer chunks of time, like yearly schedules for people. But then too, I mean, you could go when you're more advanced, you could go through an entire 12-week phase, 15-week phase, just for an attempt at a new max, and you might not get it.
Yeah, and take even, let's say you're advanced and you do that 12-week program, but you're not approaching it with like intent and purpose, and you're not doing those side things. I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah.
You have to, and I just gave this speech last week, kind of like, I used to give more like speeches about this stuff, but I feel like I've got similar people, and sometimes you get tired as a coach to like repeat it. But after this competition, I kind of came back. I was like, those of you that like want to really get better, like lift more weights, you have to like try to lift more weights. You can't just like keep doing the same shit over and over. You have to like try more, like little by little push, whether it's like I did one extra rep on my last set, or, you know, I did one extra set. We were supposed to do 5 doubles. I did 6. Or I did my 5 doubles at this weight last week. I'm going to try 2 more. Like you have to actually try to move forward. You can't just do the same shit over and over and expect the body to just be like, okay, I'm going to get stronger. It goes back to the Taranenko thing. Like when you get to that certain level, you have to try new, like not try new shit, but like you have to like try to push forward however you can, you know? Not just like expect like just more strength to come to you, but doing the same numbers, the same reps, the same shit over and over.
But that's a good point. Sometimes people get that energy, but it's still misguided, and that's where a mentor comes in, because it's here's where you could really bite off a nice chunk of progress is by doing this. Because sometimes people will gravitate towards what they want to do, or what they're interested in, or what they are already pretty good at. But like you said, your clients need to get a little stronger. So it's not doing more of the lifts. It's doing, so that's where a mentor comes in, is basically, you know, do flat-footed pulls for 6 weeks. I wasn't doing flat-footed pulls. I was going way out on my toes and doing, you know, Chinese-style pulls all the time. And I was going to keep doing the same thing.
I'm not saying to be reckless, but like when I wanted to do 400 clean, when I wanted to jerk whatever, 182 kilos clean, when I wanted to jerk 190 and then 200, like I missed the shit many times before I made it. It's like that's how you learn to do it. Not saying like I was dumb and had no chance of doing it, but like you have to like try it. If you're that person that wants to do big weights, if you
built
just
yourself up for periods of time just to miss, and then you had to build your
and then you try it and you're like, fuck, I'm close. Like, what am I missing?
Right. And then you go back to the drawing board.
Yes. And then you do a little more of this and you go back and try it again. But like, for example, and we've had this conversation, you miss 190, but you're close, you better get your head wrapped around trying it again soon, because if you just like, I missed it, that's my chance, and you don't come back to it for a month, you missed your window where your body was ready for that 190. You missed it. So you're like, okay, I missed it. What did I do? I felt like I had a leg drive, a little forward or whatever, my lockout tricep. Okay, like I need this, I need whatever it is. And then you add that and go back. Bam, try it again.
To that point, the Russian squat routine, people probably know it. There's an online calculator.
Right.
A lot of people do it to just try. That was designed for a guy who was catching cleans that he couldn't stand. Mm-hmm. So some coach devised a 6-week program to drive the dude's leg strength up so he could stand with his clean. So the whole point being that was designed for someone in a specific situation. You know, that's like the little Bible of leg strength.
Right.
It's pretty aggressive. After you do it once, you'll probably never want to do it again.
Yeah.
But that was specifically designed for somebody, you know. And then it's been fun for me to watch people develop over the years. So like Kurt was reminiscing on like when he first came here, you or I or somebody had told him do 1 day of squat volume, like a 5x5, 4x4, and then 1 day where you push intensity. And he made tons of progress just off that for like 6-10 weeks.
I think you both told me that.
Yeah, just prioritize. Yeah. Hey, my clean's awesome, but I want to do more on the clean. What's limiting me? Okay, I got to squat. Okay, but I'm going to kill myself doing fucking cleans and then squat. I always say, no, prioritize the squat. If you want to clean later or a different day, go ahead. But prioritize your weakness, because the clean's still going to be there. Not saying don't do it, but prioritize the squats when you're fresh and get more out of that.
And again, that's where a mentor is important, because if you can't front squat 100 kilos and you're trying to clean it, the mentor can see the forest from the trees and see your blind spot and be like, hey, dude, let's maybe get your front squat to 120.
Right.
Then we'll come back to the clean.
Well, and people like to lie to themselves. Like, I've been there too, guys. That's, once again, it's easy to lie to yourself. Like, I'm just going to pull harder. Just going to have faster elbows.
That's why you
fucking can't squat it.
Blind spot.
You can't squat it, dude. You got to squat. it is still a strength sport. Body doesn't just miraculously try harder, you know. It's like what's in the body's in the body. It's like you have to like put the pieces in the body to then do what you want to do. Like I'm not squatting it, I'm not pulling it. Like why do you expect the body to clean it? You know? I want to do 170 clean. I've done 160. You know, are you pulling 170? Are you squatting 170?
Here's a plan to get there. Here's a roadmap.
Show me like that stuff, because you obviously are technically good enough to do 160. We're not super worried about the technique. Build up the strength, and that's how you're going to get there. Like people sometimes forget weightlifting is a strength sport.
And then too, peak strength is called peak strength. Like it's 100% of your maximum. So it's your best ever. Don't expect that to be like your normal. That's
Right.
your best ever.
Right.
Everything will be a percentage of that.
Right. And then the people that base their percentages off their best ever 3 years ago. No, what is going on right now?
Right.
Where are you now? We don't care what you did. Like, cool, but that's not helping us right now. You know? That's like people like, this is like 10 kilos off my max. It's like, and there's days I'm squatting 150 kilos under my max. And I'm fine because I know like I'm not at that level.
Well, it's funny because it's like, I mean, we're all like this. We've all been like this. And when you start training, it's like inevitable that you think like that. Like I trained my ass off for 15 weeks, you know, and I only 90% of my life. It's like, it is what it is. That's where you're at. That's the reality of the situation. Own your shit.
Yeah, there's no shoulds. There's only is. What is? It's not about shoulds or what happened in the past. What is happening right now? Live in the now.
I feel like we're just ramming on people.
I'll fucking ram.
But that's what I'm saying. We've all been there. You've been there. I've been there.
People need to be rammed on. I'm serious, man. Like, they need that because it's so easy to lie to yourselves. Oh, it's okay. You didn't do it. Like, of course, you have clients, you have people, they want to just train or exercise or get sweat. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm a huge, myself, I want to break world records, but I also want longevity. I don't want to be
crippled. But also, in order to break that record, I have to stay healthy. So, like, I have that same goal of longevity and health, like staying injury-free, that the person that's scared to come lift weights because they don't want to get hurt. I have that same mentality. But the point is, for the people that want to do world records, or they want to go to nationals, or they want to beat their PR, they need to be rammed, is my point. They need that because, I mean, as tough as I am, as hardworking as I am, that you need somebody to give it to you straight and not coddle you. Oh, it's okay. No, it's not okay. Like, no excuses. Quit crying and just do it and shut up. It's really, look in the mirror and tell yourself that it'll help. even with nutrition, health, fitness, like people's progress is inspiring. Like someone comes in and they know they need to lose weight. They've been not working out, hip replacement, very dysfunctional, can't squat. And you lay out a plan for them and you see them, they start with like stuff that kind of irritated. They can only do partial range of motion to get started. All of a sudden in like 8 weeks, you see the person doing like unassisted air squats and you're like, Jesus, like that's progress, dude. That's where you started and where you are now. That's progress. And your goal was health and more range of motion and functional range of motion to live your everyday life. That's a job well done. It's not hundreds of kilos, but that's not your goal. So even that is like, it's inspiring because you see the process at play and you saw how somebody just put little pieces in place. Now all of a sudden they made progress, and then that energy is just contagious.
Yeah, and even the people that are trying to lift big weights, like you can't always measure the progress with the weight on the bar. You know what I mean? There's like so many other ways to measure the success, and a lot of people that I've trained, I feel like I sometimes have to remind them of that. Like, hey, remember like last month, like you couldn't move your shoulder, and we're snatching again, like 85%. That's great. Remember, like when I first met you, that like this was your clean and jerk, and now like it's your snatch. Like, you know,
that is important. Like short-term goals and reaching goals, and I see people that stay committed long-term understand that.
Yeah, or like
I did a 3RM. It's a new 3RM. It's like
right.
That's a good way of gauging progress that some people, you know.
Yeah, or even just like consistently, like let's say snatch, like you used to be happy to hit whatever 60 kilo snatch for like once in a while. Now you're like hitting it consistently like 2-3 times a week. Yeah, you still didn't get the like PR, whatever, maybe you're doing 60 for doubles, but you used to like be happy to do it for like one double. Now you're doing it for multiple doubles or doing it multiple times a week. 60 like added up over the week, you did it like 12 reps, where before you're doing 60, happy to do like one double, 2 reps. That's like progress. The number didn't go up of your double, but now you're doing it over the week for 12 doubles, not just 2 doubles or whatever. You know, people like forget to like look at those little things, or like my elbows, you know, I used to jerk, but you know, run around with it. My elbows were shaky. Now I'm like recovering properly, consistently, and my elbows are staying locked. You know, just like those little details that the weight maybe didn't necessarily go up, the PR didn't go up, but like those working weights are becoming more consistent technically and stuff like that. That sometimes keeps you going because it's easy to, in weightlifting, I will steal this quote from Oleg, Olympian. Weightlifting is the slowest progressing sport. That's what he said. You could argue about that, but that's what he said. It is the slowest progressing sport. So that's where, if you understand that there's different ways of measuring your progress, it'll help keep you sane, because your numbers sometimes can be stuck for a while. But hey, I'm lifting pain-free now. Hey, my range of motion's better on my jerk, like bars where it needs to be. I'm not fighting as much. I mean, those things are progress too.
Kurt's big on this, but like we'll get beginners that have lofty goals, new to Olympic weightlifting, and they got a long way to go. And it is a 6 to 8 year developmental process, but they'll see some of your lifts. And so I have the insight of knowing what you look like when you started, and knowing what people look like when they started versus to what they eventually achieved. And to me, it's funny because people, oh my God. But then if they saw and knew that everybody starts the same way,
yeah,
and then it's just a process, and that it takes time, and do a lot of things right.
Well, that's the thing too, especially with social media. You see this lift, and it's that picture where it shows the glacier, the little piece of the glacier sticking out of the water, and then under the water is this huge glacier, but you only see that little piece. And that's the thing with like social media now. You see that little clip. Like my 205 jerk, I'm like very proud of that, whatever. The clip is like 5 seconds. So you see a 5-second clip of a 205 jerk, but just like
an 8-year journey.
Yeah, and just picture how many hours it took me just to fly to Belarus. I mean, just like picture everything that like went into that. I mean, it's like, and people sometimes don't think like that. They need to be reminded, like, it's not just the result. Like, that goes back to what I said earlier. Learn to enjoy the process, and the result will come.